Science-based lifting. This is something that has taken the fitness industry by storm. So it all started with Athlean-X. And, I'm a fan of Jeff Cavalier to an extent. I used to be a real fan of him. I mentioned in my first video that I used to take what this guy said as like the word of God back in the day. I have to like really warn you about Jeff. This guy is, he's a good guy and everything like that. I mean, I think he has some good information. He has a good background being a physical therapist, but he really started this whole science-based trend on YouTube. And, how can I make that claim? Well, he says he puts the science back in strength. So the only thing is about Jeff is he comes from the realm of athletes and athletic competition. He was the physical therapist with the New York Mets for a while. And, this guy always, you notice he says, I want to get you on your feet like an athlete. It's all good stuff. But a lot of the things that Jeff preaches is not very useful for bodybuilding. There's a lot of movements. He's made a lot of moves up. And yes, a lot of the movements make sense. He has the rocking triceps push down where you rock back. I'll put a video up of it where he steps back and he presses down. I remember doing this movement and like saying to myself, why the fuck am I doing this? What is wrong with just doing a tricep push down like this? I'm getting results obviously from it. And this is even talking about this like 10 years ago. I'm getting results from it. So why am I switching up my training just to do something that Jeff is telling me I should do? And Jeff is very convincing. Jeff Cavalier is very convincing when it comes to these movements and the training style. He talks about the level of effort and pushing, past failure. So I like a lot of that. Training to failure, pushing past failure. Jeff has put me in that mindset. You can say whatever you want about Jeff, but Jeff is one of the very few trainers, like, well, not trainers, but one of the very first social media influencers that really put an emphasis on the importance of training to failure, full range of motion, things like that. Now, Jeff is a little bit too strict. He makes like if you do one little thing off that, you're going to, just throw everything out of whack. Also, there's a lot of inconsistencies with him too, where he's talked about like curling with your pinky like out, but he doesn't even do it like in other videos. Trust me, the pinky out thing, I'm going to tell you something. I don't do that. And I get results, baby. I get results, as you can see. 17-inch arms when flexed, 15 inches when relaxed. I think that is pretty good considering that I don't take that piece of advice. Not everybody gives that piece of advice. He does. But yeah, I'm not really the biggest fan of a lot of the things that he preaches. Like there's the waiter curl. I don't really think that this is like the best exercise. It's okay and everything, but he puts a lot of emphasis on these exercises. Like that is one that I did for a while. No, and I did see results from it. It is a decent curl, but I learned very quickly that you don't need all these fancy curls. Like for me, when it comes to biceps, I'm only doing 16 sets per week. I'm doing a straight bar bicep curl. I am doing an incline dumbbell curl. And then the other stuff is the more like brachialis dominant curls. Still hitting the bicep nonetheless, but they're secondary. Not a far second, but yeah. So a traditional hammer curl with dumbbells, go like this, and then they do a rope hammer curl like this. So that is That's my biceps training. I throw in the brachioradialis with the reverse curls, but that's hitting very minimal brachialis, pretty much no bicep, maybe just a little hair of it. But yeah, so that is my bicep training. So no need for the King Kong curl, which Jeff Cavalier has shown. I showed that in my first video. Don't need that. So who else is on the table when it comes to science-based lifting? Well, there's a better option, and that is Jeff Nippard. The other Jeff Nippard, I think, is very good. I don't really like how he pushes like that, the reps and reserve stuff, though. Like this is where the Jeffs differ. I don't like how you got on one end of the spectrum, you've got Jeff Cavalier and Jeff Nippard. Now, one thing what I like about Nippard versus Jeff is Nippard really advocates for machine usage. So much so that he will tell you that actually when he ranked the chest exercises, he actually put the machine press above the bench press. I think that takes a lot of fucking balls. Yes, it really does. Because in bodybuilding circles and powerlifting circles, talking ill of the bench press is almost like using the Lord's name in vain. It's like the bench press. I even don't like it. I even wince when people say something against the bench press because I love traditional flat back bench press. I love just being flat on the bench, and I love just having that Olympic bar. I love having the stabilization. It is a really good exercise. It is really good on the chest. I really like it a lot. Jeff Cavalier doesn't. He's more with the dumbbells. I don't like the dumbbells. That is very hard with my back. I have limited mobility due to scoliosis. So sometimes even doing something like a skull crusher, which I do every single week in my program, I don't always look forward to, getting off of that bench or laying down because it is very stiff for me. It is not pleasant. And, having that that bench press and that big Olympic bar above me to hoist myself up or, put myself down, I find that to be a great advantage. That's not something a lot of people talk about because most people don't have a problem like that. But I like it's stable for me in other ways. So, Cavalier doesn't really like that movement as much. He's also talked about in the past, he's gotten away from it, thank God, but talked about, oh, you don't need that stretch at the bottom. I got to go and find that video too. That was also hilarious to me.
I always tell you guys, if you're going to do this, stop here. Okay, the extra inches that you go all the way down to your chest, all that does is tilt your scapula further forward.
When he said that, wow, that was pretty bad to tell people to go down. He's talking about being several inches away from the chest. I mean, that is just fucking ridiculous. Trust me, folks, you need that stretch. Yes, is it dangerous for the shoulders if you don't have everything pinned down correctly and, all the right variables in place? Yes, it is. But I like that Jeff Nippard, he's also talked about like the upright row and it not being, the spawn of Satan that it's made out to be. Jeff Cavalier makes too many exercises like they're the spawn of Satan. Like he talks about leg extensions being bad on the knees and the pad that's, like on your legs. And for a while, I listened to Jeff Cavalier and I said, wow, I better do away with this. Look at all these people in the gym doing leg extensions with big quads, but they're gonna destroy their knees, and I feel superior. So you feel superior listening to Jeff, but meanwhile you're leaving essential gains on the table because this man is saying he's a physical therapist, and it's science. We're putting the science based in strength, motherfuckers. So you better listen to Jeff Cavalier because nobody else knows what he's talking about. All these bodybuilders, Ronnie Coleman, Jay Cutler, all these people doing leg extensions, fuck them. They're all wrong. They're huge as hell, big ass quads and legs. But, Jeff Cavalier knows what he's talking about. I mean, the guy doesn't even advocate for using machines. So I really don't understand where he's coming from on that. Like stability, safety. I understand he wants more natural movements, but I don't really see the science in that. I mean, I would think that, like, with technological advances in fitness, that certain machines would actually be beneficial to certain people. And you want to know, I like that about Jeff Nippard. I like that there is an emphasis on machines, in certain, certain advice he gives, in certain programs that he's written. I think that that's a very good thing that he's advocating. He's not one of these people, oh, you got to just use barbells and dumbbells and God forbid you use anything else. I like the emphasis on cables at times, that there's an explanation for everything he does. Now, one person that I really don't care for that Jeff Nippard is very close friends with is Mike Israetel. I don't really like this guy. He's very science-based, but very pompous. And I'm not saying that this guy hasn't given advice, but he is like a Instagram or TikTok fitness influencer, but like a little bit older. You know what I mean? A guy in his 40s where he's trying to stay ahead of the curve when it comes to fitness information. Because let's face it, we all know that the basics work best. Nobody is going to be reinventing the wheel anytime soon. Nobody is going to be coming up with like some crazy new exercise that's going to change every foundation of how people bodybuild or how people train, how people do resistance training or weight training, whatever you want to call it. So, there needs to be, conversations that are just made up. Problems have to be formed in order to create content. So we take non-existent problems and turn them, into discussions. And Mike Israetel has really like done a lot of damage. Like he starts talking about is the lat pull down, an overrated exercise. He talks about how hammer curls are not really needed because you hit your brachialis during a row. This is ridiculous because the same thing could be said for biceps. There's been people who have said that too. Oh, you don't need any bicep isolation work, because you'll hit it during rolls. You'll hit them when you're doing your lat pull downs. So, but let's face it, guys, we all know that most people who have given this advice, they're usually probably enhanced. Let's be perfectly honest. And Mike Israetel is. Now, he does bicep isolation work. He does isolation exercises. In fact, some of his isolation exercises are really ridiculous, like that one where he lays down on a flat bench and does he does bicep curls that way. So instead of doing incline curls or something like that, that would like make a lot of sense and it's really beneficial. And one of the tools that has helped me produce these 17-inch arms, I would greatly advocate for that. Now, Mike Israetel is enhanced. I'm nowhere as big as him, but I could clearly say that if he wasn't enhanced and he was doing those light dumbbells, see, that's the crazy thing. This man is screaming like a maniac, Mike Israetel, doing seated leg curls for his hamstring, seated hamstring curls, you can also call them. But the guy is doing these like very wimpy, just laying flat on his back and letting his arms hang off the edge. It sounds like a shoulder nightmare, and I don't get it. So Mike Israetel, this guy has totally lost me. I also really don't care for the man's like sex jokes and stuff like that. Way too many Greg Doucette, who I like, I think that guy gives a lot of good advice. Yes, there's some questionable things, when it comes to the, testosterone that he sells, but you have to understand, you have to take the good with the bad. And I think Greg Doucette is a lot better than Mike Israetel. Mike Israetel is just obnoxious. Maybe I would like the guy a little bit more if it wasn't always these sex jokes, these gay jokes he's always making all the time. It's just a little too much. And I'm not saying I'm offended by them, but it's just obnoxious. It's too much. It makes me think that like he is like some type of like closet like gay man that is just trying to like make these jokes because there's something inside of him. Like, dude, if you feel that way, I and many other people are not going to judge you. It's just one too many jokes, and it gets a little bit uncomfortable, is all I'm saying. I don't like it. I really don't care for that. So, yeah, this science-based stuff, it's not really for me all the time. I like it. I like a lot of the research. But then again, I like a lot of the old basic stuff that comes around and, and it's talked about a lot of times, like old school. And I like that about Jeff Nippard. So when it comes to science, I will say that he is probably my favorite, like science-based YouTuber, influencer, because the guy has some good information. But anyway, guys, those are my opinions. Let me know what you think in the comments down below. Please subscribe. If you haven't already, click the bells to get all the notifications when I post all my new videos. I want to thank everybody who has subscribed here on the new channel. And thank you all for watching. I'll see you next time.